Hey guys, welcome back for another night. 37 Days of Dwarf, number 14. Alright, so as I said before, I was thinking about doing a new stream for the new day and was thinking about maybe doing a glacier fort for tonight. Give me 1 second here, guys. Gotta take care of one thing real fast. Let's see if we can't get ourselves a nice flat glacier. Alright, coming up on our 200 years of history, we've moved into the age of legends out of the age of myth. So some of those forgotten beasts have started to die back a bit. I should probably go back and rename these regions a little bit and give them a signifier of some sort. Enom 4, for example. Let me know it's the 4th region we did. All right. Yeah, it looks like we probably could find some flat in there somewhere, I'm hoping. Cross our fingers. Okay, Embark Assistant, here's what we want. There's no point in asking for a brook. We won't get it on a glacier. I don't think you can get soil on a glacier. I'm pretty sure it goes right down to stone, but we'll try real quick just to see if that's changed in the current version. And I'm not going to worry about the fire clay this time. We'll see if we can get the rest of the stuff and also get a glacier. Probably not, but we'll try. Well, they went through those candidates pretty quick, but there are some along the edge of here it looks like that we're going to get access to. Oh, I don't think we added flat to our list, did we? Have to keep an eye on elevation. There's a flat spot. Now, flat on a glacier is really nice to have because if you're going to do like I plan to and carve my bedrooms into the ice layer, for example, it's important to note that um, if they're not flat, it's possible you start to run into the stone at one part, and I want to have all the bedrooms carved out of ice. So I'm hoping we get, 2 or 3 layers of ice at least. If I only have one, I can make that work, but it means that the bedrooms get very distant at the far ends, and a lot of pathfinding and travel delay starts to be introduced, which is not good. So, being that this is tundra and not glacier, that's kind of a shame. Gonna have to look. That's a shame. It doesn't look like we're going to get flat and all the rest. Let's have the Embark Finder see if it can find something for us. We didn't say flat, but we're going to say flat now. Can you find flat? There is a section there in the glacier. It's going to be that tundra section. About down south. Is there any down there? No, it doesn't look like there's any down there either. What to do, what to do. Let's see if we can create a new one real quick. We'll back out and see if we can do a different set with similar parameters. Not doing real good on even numbered regions, I noticed so far. All right. Save those again, run it again, get a different region, and see if we can come up with something a little different this time. Still looking for flat on a glacier if I can grab it relatively painlessly. I'd really like not to give up the metals for it if possible. See, I haven't done a glacier in a long time, so we can figure on dwarves dying left, right, and center. This will be great. But given the environment, we are going to do things a little differently. Let's see what we get in terms of terrain this time. See if we can get our metals and our flat. We'll cross our fingers. If not, well, I'll have to see which one of these is better in terms of metals, and we'll go with one of them. I'm wondering if flat on glacier is going to be hard in this version. Huh. Yeah, pretty sure I may have locked it up. Off we go. Hey, Hober, welcome back. Sorry, I had my better than yesterday, but that's not saying much. Still haven't resolved the major issues. It's amazing how difficult it is to resolve certain things. I am still doing better than our carpenter was. Is that ocean? No, glacier. Ocean. So you want me to embark literally in the middle of a freezing ocean? Yeah, that'll end well. Not what I meant when I said glacier. Thank you, Sightfinder, but no. I think we're going to have to pass on that one. This is kind of the ditto, isn't it? Yeah, this is another Arctic Ocean. Still not quite what I'm looking for. How about glacier? I can do tundra, I guess, but it wasn't really what I wanted. Well, let's back out of this one. Try again. Because I'm picky. And I really want what I want. Not picky enough to learn how to use Perfect World. You'd think I'd get there by now, but I never seem to have the time to devote to learning all the tools, just the ones I use so often. Let's try that. Wow, look at those goblins spread out on that tundra. Might have some neighbors. Not looking like we're going to get much in the way of flat down on the south side, but we might get lucky up here. You know, I was talking about the game with somebody today, and I said, you know, it's not that Dwarf Fortress is hard. It's just that it expects you to learn to keep track of a zillion things at once, or to remember how to set them up perfectly. And every mistake you make, it will punish, and then it will think of some new mistakes you didn't know about. I don't really think there's such a thing as a perfect fortress. I don't think this is a game that truly rewards a perfect fortress, if you will. You can make a very good fortress, you can make an excellent fortress. I don't think that there's anything such thing as a perfect fortress in the platonic ideal sense of the word. And I kind of described the game as almost like an act of a form of almost self-improvement in a way. It's like, yeah, it's like learning a trade or mastering an art. It's not a... You'll notice that even at the last one, I still didn't have a source of silk, so when the mood came asking for silk, we didn't have any left. Siege was going to just wait long enough to get rid of him. Call out the dogs and assign him to him, because he's going. But I don't think there's any such thing as a perfect fortress. Especially as Tony continues to add additional complexity. You know, I'm not a huge fan of chaos theory outside the abstract, in the sense that once you get a certain number of moving parts together, things are inevitable to start going wrong sooner or later, right? Murphy's Law, in a sense. Dwarf Fortress is an ideal teacher of that, I think, more than anything else. Okay, so glacier and sand and shallow metals. Okay, so if we take off flat... Oh, and you're sinister down there. We don't want that. Not today. Sand and ice and shallow metals and deep metals and fluxstone on a glacier. On a glacier. How hilly are you? Not very. Very minimal. Okay. Let's see. Can we poke around in here and still get... Ooh, that's flat right there. Despite what it looks like. What is that? Oh, it's tundra. Nope, 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 nope. We don't want tundra. do want Glacier, though. And they had metals. Shallow metals, deep metals, flux stone. We're going to take a look at this. I'm going to set the embark finder on it and see what we can find. It's probably not the metals we want, but you never know. Now, I'm betting we don't get... Did we ask for flat? We did not ask for flat. We did ask for a lot. We didn't ask for flat. Did I... Yeah, see, I think this... I think that's kind of boning us here. Let's see if we can get flat and all the rest with no soil. That's kind of how I think of it, Hober. This is much closer to it hews much closer to simulationist nature than even simplified things like SimCity do. It's easy to say, oh well, SimCity has a giant metropolis you have to plan for, and that's true. But everything's so abstracted that you're not really planning for it in as significant a detail. I don't believe. Um, Despite the smaller scale focus here, the breadth is still so large that I think it eclipses most other uh, colony sims. And by virtue of its breadth, by dint of its breadth, it starts to reach the breadth of inevitable complexity, depending on what you deem failure. You know, when I first started playing Dwarf Fortress, when I was really just first starting to learn, I would play a fortress until I lost a dwarf. And you can, with very careful and safe play, preserve your dwarves for quite a long time, even while remaining, open to the surface and having trade, and you can go a long time without necessarily losing a dwarf. But you spend a lot of time rolling fortresses, I will tell you. Now that might work. How flat are you? Oh, oh, that's nice. Check that out. Okay, so let's see here. What do we got? Light aquifer. Not great, not terrible. Glacier. Iron, gold, silver, copper, nickel, zinc, tin, and lead. I'm going to guess from that we've got tetrahedrite, maybe? Um, sphalerite, garnierite. The lead and silver makes me think galena, probably. But I think garnierite is just nickel. And cassiterite. So that's not bad. And fire clay to boot. So sand and fire clay. We can run a magma industry if we want to really get freaky with it. Um, on a glacier. Cool bedrooms. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. Let's take a look at Prospect, make sure there's nothing crazy coming at us. It has iron, but there's only like 3 pieces on the whole map or something. But I'll take its rough estimates. That's good for me. I don't think we actually get sand because we're on the glacier. And I don't think we actually get fire clay because we're on the glacier. But if they exist below the glacier, I will take them. I think all soil layers are scrubbed by virtue of us being on the glacier. But we'll see. Marble is flux. Oh, I could carry on. Like I said, that dwarf we were going to lose, I could have just put the dogs are in a pasture all around him, put the war dogs in a pasture all around him. He either goes melancholy and tears off all his clothes and dies in the dining room, or he goes berserk and the dogs eat him before he can do anything. Um, it's not real exciting at that point. It's nothing really to it. There's nothing really to learn. You understand that if you have a dwarf you can't meet, you just station the dogs on him and move on. Or wall him in. And if he goes melancholy, maybe you let him out to bury him. But if he goes berserk, you just leave him in there until he dies. Um, okay, we can do this. Like I said, I don't think we get the soil layers, which is a shame. I really would like to show off proper magma industry with sand because it's incredible what you can do. We may have to look for sand desert at some point. Actually, there is a sand desert here. Let's see if... What do you got here? Chalk, calcite, no iron. No iron, and then there are hills. But we might get to see kobolds if we're on that side of the map. You know, before we exterminate the last 10 of them when they come to visit and they get through the traps and the dwarves are waiting on them. Another volcano there. Still up in the mountains, though. That looks like volcano right on temperate shrubland. Am I missing that? Volcano right on temperate shrubland. So you could do some trees in the shrublands. Got the gamut on metals. No sand, no clay. Bummer. Those are all deep in the mountains. Could stretch that one a bit and get it. 4x5 is pretty big. I would not go larger than, and 5x5 is about as large as I would ever go. Unless your computer is an absolute single core monstrosity that you can throw at it. Great. But since it doesn't get advantage from multiple cores, the larger your map gets, the harder the pathfinding becomes, and it'll eat you fast if you get broad. No aquifer if I don't go at least, what, 4x4 maybe? Doesn't tell me where the aquifer is exactly, but it'll be uncommon to run into the aquifer around the volcano. What's the hilliness look like here? Crazy hilly. Okay, well, not really what I was looking for either. Flat sand. With all the stuff I'd ask for. I might even get better if I go there. Oh, maybe not. What do we get? Soil, flat sand, tin, copper, silver, iron, and coal on site, which coal would make up for the scarce trees on the sand desert. We could take a look at the site, then dive for magma at the bottom. I'm hoping a desert wouldn't be too deep from top to bottom. What are we looking at? Hilliness is good and flat, yeah? Let's go one step to the right there. 2 steps, sorry. There we go. That's flat, sand, iron, coal. Selenite, I believe, condenses to gypsum powder, so this is, or maybe it's a flux. I'd have to look. I don't see that one often enough to remember. With bismuth, if there's enough of it to worry about, then we could theoretically make bismuth bronze, which is slightly better than usual bronze-ish value at least. There's usually not very much of it. This is about normal. Well, I still want to see if I can get that glacier. We'll make this work. Oh, and if I go one to the right, what do I get? Tundra as well. A few plants to pick. Okay, not much. That has sand and shallow clay in theory. I want to look and see if I'm not actually planning to embark there, but so that's the biome that the glacier is over. This biome right here, because that's what it's obliterating. So I lose out on. I mean, we can build in the glacier and still keep our flatness, and we get access to the sand and uh, clay. And in a pinch, we could theoretically run and pick berries around the edge of the map here if we needed to. What do we have in terms of neighbors? Everybody except the kobolds. We're going to be the Imperial Armor, because why not? Where are they located exactly? Wow, do they not exist anymore? Okay, we're good with the find. We don't need that anymore. Wait, seriously? Oh, no, there they are. They're on an island. They're out there in the jungle. They're jungle dwarves. All right, there we are. All right, so we're the first off-island settlement it looks like for our race here, for our nation. We're the first group that's ever gotten out of the hometown and moved more than 5 miles away, and we chose to settle in the middle of an icy glacier so no one would come and visit. That's some Imperial armor there, boys. All right, so what do we got? Nice and flat. Got all our minerals. Got our soils the way we want them. Yeah, all right. Let's make that go. Glacier go burr. Yeah, in actually this case, this is one of those places where, with a little bit of care and caution, the aquifer will actually work to your benefit because uh, it becomes possible to do some crazy stuff with the ability to freeze it. You don't ever have an aquifer flood on this um, if it's exposed to the sky, because the moment it starts to pump water into the open, it basically becomes a solid block. Um, if you dug it out wider than you needed all the way down and floored it over once you were finished, the aquifer would, in essence, form its own wall. So, for example, the standard 3x3 staircase design that we use, if I dig a standard 3x3 staircase, but at each level I go down, I take pains to remove the floor around it so that I have a column of unsupported staircases. That's fine. Those staircases won't collapse. They support themselves. But around it is an open tile. And every time the aquifer gets a little water in that tile, it will freeze because it's exposed to the sky in a freezing biome. And every time it freezes, it becomes a solid wall, allowing you to do with it as you like. You can go up above it and carve back a layer and make that where you want and have an area inside. In this case, what we're going to try to do is carve out a little hobbit hole in the ice that will hopefully double as our eventual uh, first floor. Light aquifers aren't bad. If you deal with them in a smarter way than I did on the first fortress this year, good God, that was dumb. I wasn't thinking very clearly, obviously, because I chose to dig out every level instead of just mining out what I needed to and smoothing it over. This is a little more dangerous because of the freezing. Allowing deep water to exist on the surface means blocks of ice, and blocks of ice mean dead dwarves instantly. So, a bit more dangerous now than it would have been previously. In this case, what we will do is carve into the ice like it's stone and hollow it out, and we'll go down. Since the ice shouldn't have an aquifer in it because freezing, we should be able to hollow out a room or two, depending on how deep the glacier is, before we ever get down to where there's stone. Now, there's a small bug when we get to the level right above the stone. We'll actually have to build our own staircases because the staircases will vanish if you try to cut them into the ice. Once they vanish, you can then rebuild them, but the cut staircases will go away. You'll see what I mean. If it hasn't been fixed yet, I don't think it has. Um, Water availability via the aquifer isn't really even a problem on its own. So the other way you could deal with, depending on how deep the aquifer is, if the aquifer is only one layer, for example, that's trivial to deal with in a freezing biome. You dig out the floor, you go one tile wider than you need it, dig it out from above, one tile floor wider than you need it, and the aquifer will create a wall of ice around itself very quickly. Um, and then you sort of dig an inverted pyramid. So you have to calculate how many levels deep you have to go through the aquifer and how wide you want the result to be, and then expand it by one tile every level above that. So that's the widest thing you need to dig. And then you dig downward and it just gets narrower and narrower and narrower. And every time you channel out the floor and let it fill with water and harden, you are creating the ring wall for the next level down. In this case, we're going to run into some problems because typically what I would do is, and there's a few ways around this. We can try one. We can try the ice drop method, but um, if that doesn't work, we're going to be stuck with cavern water fairly quickly. If the ice drop method will work for us, and we don't know if it will, then we can irrigate an area below ground, and we'll have trees and pasture spaces fairly quickly. Not a lot of trees to start, but trees. You can, in theory, drop an ice block into the stone layer and partially fill the hollow you've created, in essence. For those of you who've never opened it, I strongly recommend the Dwarf Fortress wiki for everyone, but it's going to note here, for example, that there's a method that may not work, and that a cave-in will transform an ice wall into liquid water below ground. Cut out a chunk of rock under the ice, cut out a 6x6 section of ice like this diagram where I is the ice, channel out the ice, and it will fall into the cleared section, immediately defrosting and flooding. We are going to have an aquifer, so theoretically we can use the aquifer for our well, and we can use magma if we were near a volcano, so we'd have to bring it up, and that's kind of a pain. We wouldn't want to do that. But glaciers, not a problem for us. We should be okay. And failing that, we're going down to the caverns and getting water from an underground pool or lake. if the aquifer won't work for us. Okay, so let's prepare carefully this time because we're going to do it differently than we did before. Typically, I would bring a bunch of stuff and make everything on site. Here, I wouldn't do that. I would look at getting things underground as fast as possible. You don't want dwarves out in the snow. You don't want dwarves out on the glacier face. It's not good. Not good. So this time out, we're going to bring several miners with us, and they're going to have good skill to boot. And we're going to take some picks, and we'll embark with sparser things than we would normally. We're going to need to make things out of stone. We're not going to worry about them being super high quality to start. We'll try to get him skilled up on trap components or the like fairly quickly once we finish our embark. But I'm going to try and save a few points on him. And this might seem a little weird because of how we're doing it. Hang on one moment. One second, guys. Sorry, guys, I'm dealing with repairs to a water heater at the moment. As before, we're going to need a farmer because, yeah. And especially on a glacier where you're not going to have the option to uh, skill up a carpenter. Logs are heavy. You can order them, from caravans. People will bring them to you. You can buy what they bring. But logs are heavy and they will quickly get crowded out in favor of higher value weight ratio goods. Gems will get brought and cloth will get brought in bulk, but they won't bring you as many logs. Um, you can request them. You can try really hard to get as many as you like, but you're probably not going to have nearly enough to skill up carpenters on site. So get one, get him good, get him making stuff that you need early, and get ready to run out of wood. Now we're lucky here. We've got the tundra. I don't think there's many trees on it, but we might get lucky there. And if not, what we're going to look to do is irrigating an area and growing some mushroom trees, and we'll embark with a bunch to start. But that means that, to paraphrase Monty Python, every log is sacred. All right, so carpenter, grower, mason, weaponsmith. And we're just going to have to do without by and large for now, I think. Okay. Battle axes are probably not going to help us here. I don't even believe we're going to have trees to work with, but we can make those down the road. Temple cups out of the question. Normally I'd bring sheep. We won't bring sheep this time. Sheep need grazing space. We won't be able to provide it reliably, not for a long time. In fact, our grazers we start with initially who pulled our wagon are going to find themselves put on the meat menu fairly quickly in short order, because we simply won't be able to sustain them. Birds, cats, dogs, pigs all work without a source of grazing. So these animals go everywhere, work everywhere. Wouldn't want to take them with you in an evil terrain where they reanimate once you butcher them for meat. But beyond that, okay. So let's see here. Increase the number of seeds we're bringing. What else we need here? Don't need those. Oh yes, logs. Logs, 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 logs. Lots of logs. Might as well go for tower caps. We're going to be building a bunch of stuff out of things that from underground trees anyway. We might as well go whole hog. Now, I would go heavy on these. You're going to need a lot of wooden things at the beginning. You only get 3 logs out of the wagon. What wooden things you say? Well, if I make 10 beds, that's 10 logs. We're going to have more than 10 dwarves fairly quickly. So every log you can bring here counts. Need to check to make sure I have enough dwarves for picks here too while I'm thinking about it. I think I took 3 miners, didn't I? Yep, but only 2 picks. That would have been bad. Okay. Stone. Now, this is an unusual amount of stone, I admit, but we're going to run into a bug on the level right above the stone where we have issues making staircases and we're going to have to build our own. So taking some extra stone is a good thing. The usual cycle. Don't forget the coke or the charcoal. You could use wood, take an extra log, and build a furnace and burn the log for charcoal, and then use the charcoal to start the cycle. But that's a lot of extra time, and we want to get folks underground if we can fairly quickly. We know there is a sand zone in the tundra area that we can take advantage of, so let's plan on being able to take advantage of it, and in that way, need sandbags. You want to take barrels of milk to a glacier? I do. We will quickly make the milk into cheese. The cheese will all get stored in a barrel because we will mix food after that. And that food would then be larger than we took with us when we brought originally. Gypsum plaster. I believe we have some here. I thought I saw. Maybe I'm remembering the other site. Wouldn't hurt to have a few bags of that on hand. A few bags of gypsum plaster would be good. So, all right. If we're looking to learn things, let's hear suggestions. Anybody think of anything they want to bring? I mean, if I really want to get all ruinous on it, then we've got to drop off a few of these drinks and add a few of these to make up for the difference because that's free barrels anyway. Oh, I didn't take egg layers. You're right. Ooh, good call. Did not. Normally I would take blue pea hens. They grow up in a year, uh, which means, and the reason being is I use the turnover for leather. I really do. It takes a year, which is unfortunate, but turkeys take 2. Turkeys do give you more meat, but I'm not using them for the meat especially. I'm really more interested in getting the extra hides. Um, so the faster turnover for me is gravy. But birds, eggs, yes, yes, very good call. Let's drop back on the pigtails. We'll make some more on site. Yeah, we need to get at least that. Oops. I wouldn't go less than one male and two females, and that's really stretching it. Um, if I can get a second male, it doesn't hurt to have two. The second male is not. Yeah, see, no, in this case, I throw them all in one room and can call it good. The extra peacock is probably an extra expense, but fair warning, in Dwarf Fortress, some males just won't get the job done. And that's true story. They just won't. So backup doesn't hurt you. It's expensive though, so I don't know if I want to do it for the dogs, and I don't care about it for the cats, and I'll just risk it with the pigs because they're that expensive. Sometimes it's kind of like dwarves. If you look in Dwarf Fortress, excuse me, Dwarf Therapist, you're going to see sexual orientations listed effectively. Some of them are going to have a gray icon where effectively they're just not interested. You kinda, yeah. I mean, it's on the off chance that the first one is more interested in his own, I guess. But no, if you look, there are several. I know it happens for dwarves. You will find dwarves who effectively are uh, listed as not interested at all, or who are interested in guys and gals. I got no beef that way, but it happens to the animals too. And the problem is I don't care about it with the dwarves, but these guys I want to breed. I don't care about a eugenics program or anything, but if my animal farm don't get running, we ain't got meat, we ain't got leather. That's bad. I don't think dwarf. Oh, it will. Okay, so it doesn't tell me enough. It doesn't tell me anything about them yet because it's not final. Oh, give me a sec, guys. I gotta take this call. I am fairly certain that it does. I will double check. Hang on, before we embark, I will double check and see if we can save some points. Okay, so hold that thought. So I'm not kidding. It is possible that you will end up with a male that is in this category, and your animal breeding will not take off. Yeah, I was thinking maybe a glacier for this week. What do you think? Nice flat glacier, ice bedrooms. So I'd have to poke out. No, no, I don't bother with that whole evil terrain crap. If you want to knock yourself out, you go ahead. That's where I draw the line on frustration, frankly. I'd love the blood rain, but I don't want the rest of it. I do want to be able to pasture animals at some point without having to worry that they're going to eat me every time I go to eat them. Okay, so not going to have much in the way of super valuable trade goods initially. Kind of roughing it to start. Did I get my egg layers? I did get my egg layers, right? Yeah. So we're kind of risking the 1 in 20 chance or whatever it is that we end up with something gone wrong here, and we end up having to wait to import one. Yeah, evil terrain is basically don't bring animals, and if somebody dies, expect them to immediately rise from the grave, get them buried, immediately. Uh, Bridge smash anyone that looks at you funny, and immediately memorialize everyone so that you don't have ghosts. And then basically your fortress is still going to be lock it down at all times because skeletons walk the earth, and it just doesn't seem like it's a lot of fun to me. I don't know. Waves is good. Constant is not fun. And at the end of the day, while Dwarf Fortress is a very simulationist game, to me it is still a game and not a simulation. And if we're going to cross over to the realm of pure simulation, i.e., losing the fun, as it were, then, well, it's kind of going to lose me at that point, I think. There are super heavy simulationist games out there, but they don't usually appeal to me for the most part. And that's funny, I know, given, what we're playing here tonight, right? But I mean that. I can't think of anything else. Anything else you guys can think of that I should bring? Got my egg layers. Oh, hell, I didn't even pull the whole article up. Damn, I screwed up. Sorry, down here at the bottom, non sapient creatures in particular, in case we're curious. Very specific about the animals. And you can't check it in Fortress mode. In the case of your dwarves, it's visible in Dwarf Therapist, but I don't know that it shows that for animals. I have to look. Sorry, put the wiki over there in case we need it. Blood of our enemies, don't worry. I'm sure we'll have to have some of that. Okay. This is probably good. Okay, so let's just throw some extra sand on the wagon because we don't leave any embark points behind if we can. Trying to think what else we could probably chuck and take more logs. Yeah, that's a good start. It's easy to forget. You're going to have to, even with what we're doing here, until we can get a ready source of lumber, whether that's massive imports or cavern tree cutting or, you know, DF hacking yourself some wood in, which we won't do, but just saying. Until we find a ready source of lumber, we're going to need to make beds. You can make bins out of other things, but you can't make beds out of anything but wood normally. Dwarves want beds or they go freaky insane pretty quick, so you would too if you were sleeping on a cold cavern floor every night, or in the mud, or on the top of our glacier. So tower cap logs is going to make us beds in a dormitory fairly quickly. It's probably worth foregoing a bit of metal and coal for that. It's that valuable. Uh, food. Food is going to be a thing early on. We really have got to get down to the caverns, get some irrigation started, get a farm up quick. If we go for the ice drop well, it's possible we may get farming up faster. But I haven't done that in a while, and it's not guaranteed to work. So we're going to assume that we have to dive for caverns and drain a lake into a pasture and dry it up, and then farm there, which we can do, but it's going to require us to mine down fairly quickly. Let's see what our fort is today. And for all you scene folks out there, why wouldn't we? Okay. What's our group? I'm curious. Wow, prim and proper. All right, let's take it. Anybody got anything before we go? Last chance. We're going to hit the button. Roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Ah, welcome to our new home.
It's flat out here. Really, really flat. There's nothing out here. It's flat. So, let's get stuff underground, like yesterday. So not super deep here. I just hit rock bottom at 69, so there's not going to be a huge amount of... There's another way to do it. So I pulled the article up a minute ago, and we might try it later, but it's not guaranteed to work properly, and I don't want to risk it for my first source of water. In particular, this article in the glacier section is of interest to us. This is what I was referring to. We can do this, but it's not guaranteed to work, and I don't want to count on it. It's very specifically warning you, this may not work. Fair warning, your dwarves could all dehydrate. A cave-in will transform an ice wall into liquid water sometimes. Most of the time, usually, but not... It's odd. Sometimes it doesn't. Basically, imagine cutting out all the walls and the floor around a column of ice and dropping it into a socket made of stone. And when it hits the bottom, it becomes water, basically. Decides it's covered over enough, you know? And then you do like you normally would, pump it into your, or drop it into your well, or flood it out over a piece of stone to use as pasture space, whatever you know thing you're doing in that case. Um, we will try. We will try to. Uh, we will try to do this, but it probably won't be for our first well. I don't think I want to run the risk initially. So, to answer your question, no, we don't have to. There are ways around it, but we're going to because it's more reliable, I think, is what we're aiming for here. There are only 69 Z levels from top to bottom, which means this is only 70 floors from highest to lowest. We know we have 15 because of the way we set up our settings in that first day, right? So we know we have 15 levels to play with, and then we may hit a cavern after that. So somewhere, and then we've got only about 5 levels between each of those, and then there's another 15 at the bottom. So the caverns are probably going to occupy-ish about 15-ish levels, somewhere roughly around the middle, with Cavern 1 probably somewhere in the round 20, and Cavern 3 somewhere around 25 or 30. I'm guessing. 69, no, it's probably lower than that. So maybe 25 for Cavern 1-ish, and then 45, so 40 for Cavern 3 maybe? Close, something like that. Now, we're going to dig the staircase first, because we want to see if we're going to, if and when we hit the bug with the staircases in ice. Because I'm pretty sure we should see it fairly quickly here soon. Now, I want to say the staircases here will actually disappear on us at some point if they haven't fixed this. And this first room, oops, wait, is it centered? Yeah, it is good. Sorry, for a minute I didn't think I centered it up. This room is going to be like an antechamber for bedrooms or something at some point, but initially it will serve to get our stuff below ground into a general everything goes stockpile. Oh, I'm starting to think they may have fixed that bug. That would be nice if I didn't have to redo the staircases. Dare we ask that it was fixed? Dare we? So marble here. This has got to be flux. This level's going to have our limonite, and that's probably limonite right there. Still nice and staircased up. That's cool. Cool. Gonna have to keep an eye on it. Don't trust it. So now we are below the level of where we know to be, if you will, safe from the caverns. Sooner or later here we'll hit a punch unless we are literally in a rock shaft, which is possible. We may miss the first cavern. Let's employ a little dwarven radar. Now at 14 we're above where we know the caverns have to be below that. Oops, sorry, wrong way. At 14 we're above where we know the caverns to be because we gave ourselves 15 levels for safety to put our fortress in one contiguous block if possible. Oh, there we go. So right around 30 it looks like for Cavern 1 maybe. It also looks like we may be in the middle of a block of stone. Miss the cavern. Yeah, Yeah, it looks like we're going to go all the way down. Cha-chunk. But there's definitely something there. 30 and 31. Sloping up to 29, looks like. Yeah, we're going to have to see what we get. But it looks like around 30, we're going to want to make ourselves a window at the very least to get a peek at the caverns, even if we don't hit them directly. So in the event that we don't hit them, we go straight to the magma sea like this, then we'll cut the staircase out like always and seal it back up like always. But when we come back up here, we know there's a cavern somewhere around level 30. We'll dig ourselves a little tunnel out. We'll cut a fortification and view it that way. There we go. Ooh, and no problem getting water there, huh, boys? Now, I'm going to bet and say that that lake goes all the way around. There's dry cavern there, but not much, is what I would say. Okay. Now, we actually came down through a rock ledge almost all the way down. Wow. Pretty good. Okay, so as always, convert the up-downs to ups and channel out the one that made contact. You don't want something that can swim to be able to get right to the bottom of your staircases. So this is, don't stand there, dude. Oh. Oh, you moron. Good job. And the first fatality! Possibly more than one if there were more than one guy standing there. That's awesome. Good job, dude. Good job. I'm betting he dies before we get that corridor open, but let's find out. Will he swim to safety? No, he will not. Pretty much. I mean, press F. Dwarven Miner has done it again, boys and girls. The one way to kill himself. He has chosen it. And that, boys and girls, is why you have more than one pick. If we only had one pick at this point, we would then suffer from the condition called Digger Mortis. Yeah, the real problem is I have no way to make a damn slab for him yet. We've got to get the staircase resealed. We've got to get all this stuff done. I don't have time for a dead miner. This asshole's in, he's blocking my schedule. If he had made it 2 more steps and gotten up the ramp, I would have dug him out. No problem. We could have walled it back up. I think we'd have probably been fine. But realistically, he falls out of the staircase, lands in water, he drowns. Your dwarves can't swim. We didn't bring swimming. That's fine. Nothing I'm going to do about it. That's just the way it works. You fall in, you die. I have no way to make pick for it right now, so we're down to 2 picks, which is okay because we only have 2 miners now. A miner haunting, it's going to be like that damn river crossing in Pathfinder Kingmaker. Miner haunting. Oi, oi. Bad. Bad. Okay, not really. It's funny, but still. Ooh, dad joke. Oh, I know, boss. I've played it. It's a fun game. I'm just giving it shit. Truth was, is I didn't complain about the spider swarms. First time I got wrecked by them, I was like, oh, right. Spider swarms. I remember how those work. Duh. It's on me. Didn't think about spider swarms at level 2 when they're perfectly valid. The ghost is the same way. It's not a big deal. It's a little story trick, and it's not even a big deal. No, the spider swarms work exactly the way they do in tabletop. I mean, that when it comes down to Pathfinder Kingmaker's greatest weakness as a game is that it assumes that you are going to um, know the system. And if you don't know the system out of the gate, you are at a significant disadvantage no matter what you do. The ice stones will melt, they do not leave water. They evaporate in essence, usually. They don't melt in a way that you could use to fill a well. But we've got water. We just need to set up a well now, right? I mean, we know where the water is. It's just a matter of draining some of it into a catch basin and taking advantage, which we can do. We have no problem, that's right on our agenda, make no mistake. So we'll cut through right here and go down underneath it and create ourselves a little well. This is going to be trivial. Watch this. It depends on how you want it dug. Um, if your goal is to dig like a single tile wide straight shaft down, there is no good way to do it without providing access periodically for your dwarves. Because what will happen is they will get about 3/4 of the way down the shaft, decide they're hungry, and then decide to climb the wall to get back out. It used to be the case that you could put them in a shaft and they would just drill until they got as deep as you wanted. Then you could connect them back to the central staircase and they'd come back up. But now what will happen is they'll break off, realize they can't go anywhere, and the only way out is to climb, and they'll start climbing. Your dwarves don't have climbing skill. They'll get about halfway up, fall down, and kill themselves. No, there's no good way to drill a really deep shaft except to do it level by level and provide access. If you really want to do it, you provide access to the bottom level. You drill a staircase, an up-down staircase straight down. That's your core, your center. And you channel every tile around it so you get a 3x3, right? If that's what you're aiming for, or else you expand your staircase pattern, but you get the idea. Use the staircase as your scaffolding. When you're done and you have finished it all, you channel out the staircase. Now, the problem is you're going to run into is that when you channel that for that top tile, it's going to end up causing you to lose access to the staircase. So start in the second or third tile down, and then channel each staircase down from there. As long as there's access from the bottom, your dwarves will come in from the bottom if they have to. Once you're done, channel out the last couple of levels from above, one at a time going upward, and they won't disconnect in a way that causes you a problem. That'll get you a 3x3 wide, for example, with one staircase. If you want to go wider than that, then you end up doing something crazy with like staircases on these corners so that you can go out to 5x5 and channel around each one, something like that. Typically, I can't think of what you really need to drop a shaft deep for where you can't dig it out level by level. And by that I mean, take for example the traditional dwarf or goblin execution shaft, where you want something really deep, like 20 levels, say. you dig a staircase down one side of it, and then once you've reached the bottom, you put your spikes in like you normally would. Nobody walks out. They drop those 20 or 30 floors. Doesn't matter if there's a staircase, it's blocked. They fall 30 floors, break both their legs. They're not crawling out. Um, but if you're worried about it, you can build a staircase down and then put a bridge over it. And they can't get up from the bottom through the bridge, so the only thing to do at that point is try to climb the walls of the shaft. Good luck. Then when you want to dispose of the remains, you can open the bridge and climb down your staircase, and you have easy access to the bottom. Clear it out, clean off your spikes. I think in the end, you end up using staircases for scaffolding more often than not, because I don't really think there's a better way to do it. There's no good way to do it safely. I wish I could give you better news. It used to be, like I said, once upon a time, that you could reliably put a dwarf in a shaft, and once they started channeling downward, there's nowhere else for them to go, really, so they went, you know? But now, dwarves will climb, and they happily all think that they're Spider-Man. They'll climb a 30-foot, or 30 Z-level up vertical shaft in some cases to try and get out. They will fail halfway up. It's no good way to put it. The dwarf climbing one level I get, or two levels I get. But as it starts to get higher, the cumulative chance of failure gets larger and larger and larger, and dwarves are not mountain goats. Now, to be perfectly frank, let's be honest for a moment here, okay? I could dig a bigger well. I have dug bigger wells in um, prior fortresses, even on stream this month. But we don't need it. The reality is your dwarves don't go through that much water. Hospital visits and the occasional, treatment of an injured dwarf. That's about it. And there's an abundant source of additional water if we decide we need it. So, not super concerned about getting more. What I am concerned about, though, is that we give ourselves access to dig this little area out, because we're going to exploit the old bridge from below trick, and then with a fortification and a retracting bridge, we're going to, or a raising bridge, we're going to give ourselves access to water without running the risk that we flood anything or provide any access to the caverns to reach us. Bear with me, because this takes a lot of explaining. Doing my well this way, the stairs hold water just like an open tile, and the stairs also provide access for people to get in and out if in a pinch. So what you can then do is give yourself, in the water level here, a side staircase, say, and then go up a floor. Remember, this is going through a pressure regulator, so we don't have to worry about flooding above this level, so this is perfectly safe to do this the way I'm doing it. Then we can dig this out, and that gets us our well with our access staircase. Now, we then have to go one floor below this, and this staircase has to keep coming down. Oops. And this staircase has to keep coming down, because what we're going to then do is go underneath this area here and get this from below. And what will end up happening is these ramps will get covered over with a bridge we won't ever bother to retract. This area down here will dig out, and there'll be a set of ramps where we channel that. The dwarves will stand on the ramps and dig these tiles out through the bridge. The water will rush in down this channel here once we've walled this up, of course, obviously. Although I could just relocate this a little bit and make myself a safety margin here. Let's do that. And that should get us access to our water in fairly short order. Now, this isn't ideal. Obviously, I'd like to be able to put the water where I wanted and yada, yada, yada. But, glacier. Glacier, man. So we got to take what we can get here. This will get us access to water fairly quickly. We can then, if we want, exploit this by draining some of it off into a large open stone area for farming. So let's go back up topside again. Did we finish this area off? So they're going to hopefully finish some of this up. If they don't, we'll deal with it. That's fine. Anything we have that's in the wagon that isn't wood, store it. I want it underground. I want it off the surface of the glacier now. You might immediately ask me, well, wait, you're building out of ice. How can you do that? Well, if you do it on the surface, it stays freezing. You're good. Glacier, remember? But at least I think this is glacier and not the tundra, I'm hoping. Should say Stalin. And if it does, we'll have our butcher's workshop and our tailor's workshop. We can butcher our draft animals and take the rest underground. Okay. Let's see here. What do we need? Well, let's see. We need that stupid idiot's pick back. That would be nice. But failing that, need to set butchering and tanning on everyone who isn't doing anything important right now. Good God, we took a two-humped camel to a glacier. What are we, Hannibal? What are we going to do next? Elephants over the Alps? Anyway, so we managed to get a two-humped camel to survive a trip to a glacier somehow, and we're going to butcher it and the horse that came with us because neither one is suitable for us. Even if it had been a female, No, no, I'm not breeding camels on a glacier. Too much grazing space, and I don't have the water right now. If you want to do it, we can order them later maybe, but um, not out of the gate. It's not worth it. They're meat on the hoof for me to start. Uh, it's astonishing to me. We haven't even been here hardly a month, and there's already a dude who's visiting out here in the middle of the glacier. Hey man, I heard 7 dwarves went out to this place somewhere up past Glacier Mountain and might have settled there. You might want to go check it out. Okay. Now, this is going to take them a while, and we do need to kind of keep a right herd on them because we've got several things that have to be done to make all this process work. I'd love giant grizzlies. That'd be wonderful. Uh, well, so there's grizzlies, and then there's giant grizzlies. And grizzlies would be what you're thinking of when you say a Kodiak. A giant grizzly would be more like what people think of when they say dire bear. Giant anything in animal sense means literally that. It's big. Big, huge, McLarge. So this gets us our well. Yay. Once upon a time, I would have told you to shoot for the giant desert scorpion. Alas, its time has now come and it has been nerfed out of existence. There's nothing like a guard animal that you can breed and also takes enemies' weapons away from them and kills them with it. The poisonous tail's just extra. Yeah, okay, so now add another 100% on that maybe, or 150% on that, and you're talking about a giant grizzly. They don't mean giant in the metaphorical, describe it as really big sense. They mean giant as in literally like it's a giant. Attack of the 50-foot grizzly kind of thing. Yeah, giant anything in Dwarf Fortress means literally that, like giant, not like just bigger, not like just larger than usual, like 3, 4, or 5 times normal size. I mean, if you want exact numbers, you'd have to check the raws. I don't know them, but very, very big. Um, to the point that giant animals form effectively a class of their own, even if they are herbivores and otherwise non-threatening. A giant animal of any sort that decides it does not like your dwarf is going to give that dwarf an exceedingly bad day. Um, maybe that doesn't apply for giant chinchilla. I don't know. But I'd be concerned about giant capybara, you know? See, there's something out there already. Check that out. Already lurking. Is that a fish? I think it's just a fish. Cave fish. Okay, no big. They're lurking. They're waiting on us. You laugh, man. You can modify the raws. You want giant war chinchillas? That's a doable goal. You'll have to modify the chinchilla raws, obviously, to make them trainable for war, but do that, and this is achievable. Giant war chinchillas can be a thing. Why do you have no job? What's up with that? I'm betting our staircases finally gave up the ghost. No? No, did not? How do you not have a job then? There is stone to be mined. Am I missing something here? Did we mine it all out and I'm just not paying attention? We did. I'm waiting on the bridge. That's what we're waiting on. Needs architecture. Aha! To the bridge, boys! I want to say that the largest creature in Dwarf Fortress, aside from things like rocks and dragons, yeah, there you go, 8.5 times more massive than a standard grizzly. So, I mean, a standard grizzly or a Kodiak, you're looking at what? 1,000 pounds? You know, easy? Maybe? So this thing's the size of 4 good-sized pickup trucks. Now, I suspect what will happen is the ice will vanish on us and we won't get our workshop, but we can try. Also, if there was aquifer there, it didn't bother us much, did it? That's good. It means we can expand out later and look for the aquifer to find our source of surface-ish water, but for initially we can go downward. Now that they're bringing us our stone for that, let's talk about another use for this same channel. Okay, so we're going to use the same water from our well. We'll just let it fill up and flow down into here, and we'll just flood this space and then let it dry out a little bit. No problem. If we need additional space in order to affect the evaporation, we'll simply mine out some more space. Again, once we're under... Oh, well, we're under that. That's bad. That's all going to be damp. Oop, let's not do it that way. We'll go down an extra level. And to make sure that we're safe here, an extra pressure regulator is required. That's a 10 by 10 space. That will get us 4 5 by 5 farm plots without any additional space needed. we can go a little larger to accommodate some stockpiles for seeds. And then we're going to need to connect that up. Okay. So one water activation and we'll get both of them running at once. In order to make this one work, we have to get a bridge in place that we can raise and lower. This one we don't care. Once it's filled, we'll just let it flood in. But we do need to be able to um, shut it off to prevent anybody from getting in. So in order to affect that, we're going to need some mechanisms. See if he'll give us a nice ice carpenter's workshop. Why not? Okay, so he's off and running for our bridges. That's what he's doing. And he'll finish that bridge up and then he'll walk back. No, 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 don't do that yet. Not yet, not yet, not yet, you crazy bastards. Let the other guy finish first, you maniacs. So, ice is funny. I wouldn't rely on it as your construction material, but yes, constructions can be made of ice. They do not naturally melt, normally, but in this case, I do mean constructions. If you can build it under the C menu, build construction. Oops, construction. One of these things can be made of ice. Once it's built, it is impervious to temperature flux. That's the catch. The ice boulders will melt too. And if they melt before the job gets done, your job never gets done. So it's funny. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, and it's fuzzy sometimes on whether it will let you. It's supposed to be the case that it doesn't evaporate outside of... Yeah, that's the problem you'll usually run into if you try to build stuff out of it. Sometimes in a really cold biome like this, I'm betting we can get away with it. As long as we're building inside the glacier, we'd probably be okay. But I wouldn't rely on ice as my building material. It's cute when you do things like ice walls containing a lava flow. Ha ha ha, look what I did. But mostly it just sounds like a headache. Again, once it's built things ignore temperature. Constructed things, that is, the construction menu, ignore temperature. So your ice walls can happily be used to channel your magma flow. Your ice fortification will happily not melt while the magma flows through it, etc., etc., etc. Now, I don't really like making bridges one tile long like this, but it is really the only way to do it in this case because I cannot have it blocking the staircase there. We can get rid of this temporary one I was using to block off the fortification now that we have a fortification. And as soon as that bridge is up and linked, which we're not ready for yet, then we are really ready to tap the water. That's not a joke. a couple of beds badly because we were sleeping in the ice. That's no good. But our carpenter fell asleep before making one bed, so yay! Make us some rock mechanisms. I don't care who does it. And we need a bridge down here to cut off the water flow. Since we're kind of going to do things in reverse this time, because of by virtue of the caverns thing here we're going to run into, this ends up being food production. So food production in this fortress ends up being way down by the caverns at around 27. And we'll go up from there, say to around 10. I think the first few are, -1 through 4 are all glacier. So 10 is 6 stone layers down, and it's flux. Even better. Nice. And not the rock. Okay, let's think about this for a minute. We want to have a dog area out front beyond the depot, but inside our inner barrier. Okay, so if we put the depot here, with the intent that things coming in do not have line of sight on anything down the corridor. The extra length doesn't help us. In fact, it's actually negative, but I need something that blocks line of sight and won't obstruct the wagon, and this works perfectly for that. I think what we'll do instead So the wagon will follow this path we're digging out here. We will use these long tongues in the middle to house cage traps or weapon traps, something like that, so that anybody who does get in this far, we've got something dealing with them before they ever encounter our dwarves. We will need a way to seal this area off, say here, to prevent things from getting in, and a way to seal it here to keep them in the area, milling around. But the goal is that the wagon doesn't care about the path. He'll happily follow the serpentine route, and then when we dig it out, this space in the middle will quickly become a death trap for anybody else. Now, the other way we can implement this if we seal this outer corridor, enemies will happily enter the inner corridor. If we channel all of this out so it's all wide and open, the only way for an enemy to walk in is to literally walk through this area. We can then set up a firing range, say here, south, and fire our arrows north across this pit. Need to let him finish this before I get him onto something else. It's too far to keep the walking back and forth. We only have 2 miners at the moment. So we'll cut this section off until we're ready to build it. And let our mason finish up with his bridge. And we'll put the lever that fills the well right in the middle of the wells. You can't turn them on if you're not standing there. Okay, gotta let the rest of our mecha. Did we not? We may not have requested enough. I thought we did, but maybe we haven't done it. No, we did. We're good. So in order to keep zooming down through the world like this, we're going to have to set ourselves up a hotkey here. Got to give these guys a chance to finish up here. Get the farm plots ready to go, if you will. Get that bad boy linked up. And I think we're going to put the other lever here. This lever will operate the farm bridge to allow us to irrigate. We really only need it the once. Once you've irrigated once, you're done. So once we've raised this drawbridge, we could simply just get rid of the lever and we'd be fine. And once that's linked up, we should be ready to go. They've still got to get this linked up, and there's no way for us to put a grate on this time, so it's basically pull the water in and then seal the bridge and don't use it again. But this well is big enough that we won't have a problem. It's more than large enough to house to host our fortress for a long time to come. And if we need to fill it again, it's going to be a quick, couple lever flips and you'll be refilled. So not a huge amount of risk, but there is some because we won't have a seal over this entrance. Now, unfortunately, we do not get confirmation on this one that it is raising correctly. We only get confirmation if it's retracting. But it looks like it's probably doing what we want. The one down here is doing what we want. So let us puncture our wells. Before we do, let's make sure we have thought this through. Water will flow in here, through this channel, across here, across our fortifications, through our lowered bridge once we lower it, down the staircase, across here, up through this staircase, to here, through the pressure regulator resetting at -33, into the well, drops down the well, all the way, fills this chamber, goes up one floor, fills this chamber and begins flooding through a pressure regulator into this floor. We'll wait till it's good and full before we actually lower the bridge. Once it's filled this floor up and backfilled into here, it will fill up to this floor and fill this and fill here. But remember, it's come through a pressure regulator here, so it's not going to rise any higher than this. This is pressure regulated so that if in the event we do something stupid or the lever gets screwed up or something, the water flooding into our staircase here does not go above this level of the staircase, and we can always close this bridge again later and do something about the water. This is a safety thing that should never actually come into play. But at that point, we've got the water from source to destination, and we've thought about what we're going to do to deal with it. We're not setting up a drain here, so we have to get it right the first time. Now we can immediately dig this out. And nobody can actually access this area at the moment because of the fortification, so they will come along below this and dig it out from below. Hey, thanks out there, Anonymous. Appreciate it. Alright, so come on, guys. What you doing here? Oh, I bet they've got a big mining job somewhere else that we've got them doing, and they are... Well, no, he says, there we go. Yeah, pick up my job. Do my dig. Oh, sounds like we found some warm stone down deep. Good. There's our water coming in. Boom. Now, it'll flood up to this point and then stop because we have the bridge up. That's fine. Phase 2. Fill the well. Now, our well does lose some water when we irrigate, briefly. There's kind of an issue there, but not a huge one. Let's check down and check this and make sure we're not giving ourselves access here. Yeah, it looks like they're just going to find out that we're real close to the magma sea here somewhere. That's fine. Just what we want, in fact. Now water is filling the well. Now it'll take it a second, but not too terribly long because, well, we've got a good chunk of water coming in, no problem. There, now we've filled up this access corridor and the bottom level of the well is starting to fill, and it's going to backfill up to here now. Some of that water will fall back in as it puddles down into this end of things, but that's okay. It will quickly fill up to here, and because it's all nice and pressure regulated, this level will cap out. Now, here's where this gets nice. Remember, I've discussed before, water teleports if it's coming in from a higher floor. So the water on this floor will disappear from this floor and teleport to here and immediately start filling. Now, as this tunnel splashes down, water spreads out, part of the water will teleport into this space before it begins to flow. We should get adequate flow out of this real quick, no problem. So much so that we're going to want to watch it just to make sure that it doesn't get too crazy too fast. And about half or 3/4 of the way over, we're going to activate the pull lever job again to keep the flooding down.
The new season is summer.
We can cheat it and probably get a wall up. And if they do this right, they'll stand outside, but if they do it wrong, it won't hurt us. We're going to be very careful about how we get our dwarf out. See what I mean about good flow, no problem. Yeah, now we don't have to worry about a flood down the staircase at all. Problem solved. We'll come back and remove that in a sec, but for right now, we want it there. Want to make sure we get nice, adequate coverage across the entire area. Just a little longer, just a little longer. Bit. There we go. Okay, that's good. Now, we want to immediately pull the lever now as fast as we can. And if we get a little excess in there and we have to drain it out differently, we can work around it. But we want to get this lever pulled quickly because now is the time to stop the flow before it adds up to 2s all the way across the room and then it doesn't evaporate. Like... Did we get it? Yeah, okay. So now this would evaporate over time. It might take it a while, but it would evaporate. The 1s would eventually disappear and you'd end up with a 2 filling them and then there'd be 2 1s. But in order to make this faster, what we can then now go back and do is dig out an extra layer around each side here like this. And the extra space will spread the water out. Now, if we need to, we can go a little broader than that. No big deal. Extra couple of layers out there like that, and then remove this, and we will get some unfortunate flooding down the staircase, I believe. So before we do that, let's look down here and see what we're going to get ourselves into. Since we have that sealed up there, we don't have a worry yet, but we're getting close. So we know this is warm stone, so somewhere very close to here is magma C, and my guess is we'll discover it as soon as we punch a hole here. There, magma C. And adamantine over there if we get to it today. Now, this staircase is immediately going to flood fill. There is no safety down here. So, tell your dwarves to stop trying to get into there, because there's no good reason for them to be in there at all. Now, that one staircase will immediately flood fill. That's fine. We come back up. We know that here it is. There's the magma sea. If it came up above this point, we would find it here. So we know that this level is solid above here. If it rose above this point, we would have detected it when we punched our hole, basically. So we will excavate on this level for a magma chamber, say right there. And then on this floor, we will give ourselves access, and we will floor over or hollow out that staircase, since we no longer need to get down there until we're ready. We can even access it from the bottom to do the same safe magma trick that we used a minute ago. This is going to be good. So, let's get our staircases cut out properly. It's okay that these are up downs. They actually go down into a solid block, so they don't hurt. Nothing hurt there. Nobody can come up them if they can't get to them, I don't believe. But to be safe, we're going to channel it out anyway. I don't want the ambiguity of whether somebody could come up at an angle maybe and somehow end up in my staircase. So remove them. And once that's done, we will, there we go, replace them. With staircases that go up. Now this actually works kind of in our favor in a way, because this isn't really all that deep. We have to come halfway down for our food production anyway. So, you know, early access to magma right there, boys and girls, you know. Let's see if we can't, just for grins and giggles, let's see if we can't expand out our little plot of dwarven radar here and maybe locate ourselves the next cavern down. I mean, we know that there's got to be one between 55 and maybe it doesn't intersect with us enough that we care about it. That's possible. No, just the one at 33. Now, like I said, it's possible we came down through a big block of stone and missed the first cavern. This is actually cavern 2 or something like that. Entirely possible. All right, so let's dig out the other advantage to having done this the way we did is that we can dig out a space here and know that it will spread out our water. And once that's good, we can dig out the lava. It'll be great. Oh, one short. Damn. And as a bonus, none of the tiles of this should actually be warm, so it should all get excavated smoothly. That will become our metal industry, our sand industry, our kilns, our furnaces, our forges, all running directly off magma in what? The 4th month? Shallow worlds mean you can get to the magma sea very easily. We may bring magma up later, but for now, that'll do nicely. Now, I do need to dig it out because I want to have a place to evaporate the water. So we are going to need to, I didn't really want to because it's large, but we're going to do at least a big chunk of it to get it to where I can evaporate it properly. Only have 2 miners, might as well only do 2 doors. And we'll give them a minute to attend to that. Let's go back upstairs and check on our stocks. Still have some drinks, still have some plants. Good, good. Now, since we do have it, I'm going to take advantage of what few plants there are to pick here. Might as well. I don't know that there are many. Oh, am I still a level above the surface? No, that's surface. Okay. I mean, I don't even know what harvestable trees or plants we might even have here. Not much. What do we got? Cranberries. Blueberries. Blueberries. And I don't think we can grow either one of those even if we wanted to. Yeah, cranberries. My guess is that's all we've got. Neither of which is going to sustain a fortress forever. Well, we're not full glacier here. We're out at the edge. So some of this is tundra over here to the east, and we did that specifically to get the sand and clay. If we embarked solely on the glacier, which we could do, and our fortress is going to be in the glacier, make no mistake. If we embarked solely on the glacier, then what we would end up with is a problem where, yeah, there's nothing to harvest on the surface, and that's not really a problem for us. We're going to hit the caverns and start farming, now basically. And if necessary, we could prune our animals back a little bit. We're expecting a caravan in 3 months-ish or 4 months-ish. We've got plants that we brought with us. Normally I wouldn't have brought plants that we can brew. And a few extra animals to butcher if we have to. But the goal currently is not to need to do that. I don't really want to get this all set up for forges, obviously, but get this mined out so we can evaporate that water and we can start farming like right now. It's still going to take us a month or so before the crops come due, or a season or so before the crops come due. So every day at this point is ticking against us. We're eating our supplies. We're eating the plants I need to be brewing instead of brewing them. Okay, I'm going to give them a moment to work on that while I go ahead and grab a drink real fast. Give me a second. Well, Omaha, that's exactly what we did. About level 30 here somewhere. Here it is. Our farm is now ready to go. We just need to build the plots. And since the evaporation has done such a bang-up job, we do not need all this extra space, and we no longer need the extra evaporation. That worked out really well. Okay, we can then set up our typical chain stockpile for seeds. And we now have our link set up. This stockpile will house our seeds in barrels, but only take from its sister. The sister stockpile will take from anywhere, but uses no barrels. That prevents the hauling seed spam issue. It limits the number of times your farmers are blocked from planting. All good stuff. We'll get those boulders out of the way, and we'll get on to the farming. And since we're doing that, and we don't need this now, I'm coming back to it later. This can wait. Metal smithing is nice, but not the first thing we need in our fortress. Digging this area out so we can get started on a mason's area, crafts dwarves, that kind of thing, so we can get ready for trade. We've already got farming started, mostly. Sorry, Omaha, that's the other thing I meant to mention. Tree farms. A tree farm works exactly the same way as an underground farm. You flood it a little bit and you're good to go. But in order to get mushroom trees to grow underground, you have to have a tall enough cavern. So you need to dig out, say, 4 times this space, and then go down level by level, 5 or 6 levels. I want to say you can get the trees at 2, but if you give them a bit to grow up, you can get more wood out of them, I believe. But the soil part works exactly the same. Mushroom farm grows right on top of your mud. Okay, and that will get us staples. Plump helmets 4 seasons. I think I did it over here too. Make sure. Even for winter. Yeah, good. Plump helmets 4 seasons. This one is spring pods for the first season, pigtails for 2 seasons, then dimple cups if we have dye. Or if we have them, which we don't yet. This one is sweet pods for 1 season, cave wheat for 2 seasons, or excuse me, pigtails for 1 season, cave wheat for 1 season. This is quarry bushes for 3 seasons. If you really want to get everything, and farm everything underground, then you break them up more than this. You don't need these big plots. You just split them up smaller plots more often. You can diversify your farming however you need to at that point. With a farm this size, we could feed the multitudes. We could export meals in such quantity if we wanted that we could drown our nation with them. I need to spend some time this weekend. Tell you what I'm going to promise you guys. I need to spend some time this weekend looking at the new Quick Fort. So bear with me a second. I'm going to see if I can use the old Quick Fort. I think it still works on my PC. Bear with me a moment. Now, QuickFort is kind of unusual in that it runs in your system tray right here, and it will block certain keystrokes because it intercepts them instead of giving them to Dwarf Fortress. So, fair warning, this can be problematic for you if you're doing something with it when you're not ready. I typically load it only when I'm using it and then get rid of it immediately. Let's load a blueprint file here. Wrong button. Duh. Okay, so we wanted bedrooms in ice. We want to plan for 200 dwarves. We've got 3 levels to play with, but let's see if we could do, say, 100 per level. Do 2. And dig starts at 26 by 25, so this isn't exactly a symmetrical one, but that's okay. Let's look at it again, make sure I didn't... Yeah, okay, that'll work. And then we run with that. When we hit OK instead of cancel, we can hit Alt-V to see its footprint. Now this is the old Quick Fort. The modern version works differently. Use the one in DF Hack if you can. Keep in mind, I haven't learned it yet. That's why I'm using this one. Let's try this and see if this will work. And I'm thinking that we're good here. Good, good. Yeah, nice. Okay, so then we can go up one more floor. And now we have bedrooms in ice. And that's really all I use QuickFort for, is quick designation of my bedrooms. Once I learn the new version, I'll have to figure out how to get it to set up all my furniture for me and all that good stuff that it can do. But this is really what I used QuickFort for all along, and I need to learn how to do this with the new one. My bad. But it's a whole lot faster and prettier than my, TV aerial bedrooms that I typically demonstrate. I actually have to run it again to fix it now. Duh. There we go. Done. Now we have 2 floors. That's 200 dwarves worth of 2x2 4 square bedrooms with some additional rooms for, say, nobles or minor nobles, whatever we end up with. Since we're doing this in ice, our walls are not particularly valuable. We probably won't store our actual nobles on these floors. We'll go down a couple into the stone and give them some walls of stone or metal or something. But for our regular dwarves, this will be nice. As Real Genius once said, ice is nice. Okay. Now, let's think about this for a second before we turn them loose on 100 bedrooms. We don't really need that many yet. I'm going to let them finish up this before we go on to something else.
We come here in hopes
All
of a
right,
better
more
life.
labor. Well, keep in mind, I do not recommend the older version of QuickFort. I know that I was stunned to learn that they were redeveloping it, and I was curious why. And someone told me that on some PCs, in some cases, for some people, it literally the blueprints don't work. I mean, like you run them and you end up with half a blueprint, or it's just garbage, or for some folks it just doesn't work properly. I have never personally had a problem with the older version, but since I know the newer version is far more powerful in terms of what it is capable of doing, I'm interested in looking at it, but I haven't looked into it, and it's more complex than I can probably demonstrate without grasping it for myself first. I could do a 3-hour stream where we all read the manual together if you want. I mean, I got to know my audience. Is that the kind of thing you guys would really like? You want to see me read a manual for a couple hours to figure out how QuickFort works? Yeah, I have had issues where it does weird things, but it's almost always attributable to me having mouse controls on and moving the mouse, for example. Since QuickFort is effectively playing back a macro at the end of the day, the old version of QuickFort is playing back a macro in a sense. If you're moving the mouse around and changing its focus while it's executing the macro commands, you're going to shift where the macro is executing and by definition end up with garbage. And I've done that to myself, but I've never had it do it to me, I don't think. I'd have to go back and look. I have vague recollections of once, but I'm old. Well, if you're interested in learning how to make your own designs, what do you mean? In terms of for QuickFort? For the older version, it's basically just a comma-separated file. And I think the new version works the same way, but I have to double-check that. You effectively build a CSV, and you input in it certain lines that tell it how big the dimensions are, which tile the center is, for example, and then QuickFort does the actual macroing part for you. So you're just drawing the blueprint, in a sense, cell by cell, where each cell represents a tile. And as long as it's lined up properly, that's all there is to it. You then make a blueprint if you want for furniture. There's a different keystroke for all the furniture items, remember? So you can do a separate blueprint for furniture. So you could literally say, this is my bedroom, bang, done. And then you could turn on planning mode for everything in Dwarf DF Hack and say, this is my bedrooms. This is my furniture. And it would come through and just plow the furniture in, because QuickFort is trying to lay in furniture, and planning mode doesn't require you to have it. I think that works just fine. But even if it doesn't, you can always build the furniture and do it that way. Wow. More than our first group of dwarves in the first migration wave. Nice. And I'm betting, though, I want to look at those level 15 guys. Need to do something about our dwarves, get a temple up and that kind of thing. I'm not sure why they're badly distracted. Doesn't show anybody badly distracted by stuff over here. But okay, maybe one of these guys has all of these things. High social skills and a legendary. I'm thinking vampire. In fact, I'm thinking two. A little less certain of Moma's. He's just kind of smattering across the board. But this super person here with these high super social skills and a legendary. No military skills, though. We'll keep an eye on him. Holy cow, and of those haulers, 4 of them had swimming. Is that not Dwarf Fortress laughing at us, or what? 4 of them. 9 of them came in and almost 50% had swimming. I guess, man. I mean, seriously. Is that not Dwarf Fortress laughing at us? That's all I can say. Oh, I see you lost a miner to drowning. Maybe I should give you a whole bunch more. Here. None of these guys can mine, but hey, they can at least swim. Since it's close to the wells, we'll use this as a hospital. Oh, sure, and now you want to haunt everybody with your stupidity. Fine. Keep in mind, the building out ice I'm doing in this case, I'm doing it all inside the glacier layer, and I think that's our saving grace there in terms of why the ice boulders haven't melted. We're actually in the ice, so it's ice on ice and not ice laying on stone. For those of you who may not have been aware, caverns maintain their temperature year-round in most circumstances. In Dwarf Fortress and in life, I believe. Definitely true of Earth. Not sure if it's true for Dwarf Fortress, but I think so. Okay, and now we've got space for industries, at least to start, and a hospital. Time to start looking to seal this place up. Who wants an ice palace? Think we can get an ice palace out of this, maybe? Think we get lucky enough to have enough ice boulders? I probably shouldn't count on the ice. Now that I'm thinking about it, you'll end up with a case where they'll climb the rough ice walls. Bet that's probably doable for them. Let's use stone blocks instead, like normal dwarves. All right, fine. No more. We'll use the ice hotel idea, but we're not going with the ice walls for the fortress. Okay, let's do one other thing real quick. We did get some of this opened, didn't we? Down here at the bottom. We do not yet have the material for picks, but we brought it with us. So let's go to our area here, build ourselves our temporary forge. Oops, not a magma forge, just a regular forge. Temporary forge out of whatever happens to be on hand, and build ourselves 2 smelters. We'll have to bring them online slow, but once we do it, we'll... we don't need quite that many, that's crazy. Once we do it, we'll blow through the available stone that we had that we brought with us. So what we'll do is we'll set up a temporary stockpile here. Don't, hang on, screwed that up, didn't I? I always loved magnetite personally. It's fantastic. Comes in these giant clusters, so once you get a little chunk of it, it's a giant mess of it. It's almost never in veins, it feels like, when you see it. But by setting up the stones that we brought with us and the coal to be stored on this stockpile, they'll bring them all down here and store them where we need them so that we can smelt them down quickly and produce them into bars. If we add bars to this stockpile in order to get stuff off of it quickly, none of this stuff is a big deal to store here, and we can have them move the bars out and immediately make things out of them for us. We need to get a few picks up and running so we can get more miners running than what we have. 3 would have been good, 5 would have been better, and 10 would be nice. But they're bringing in iron ore because that's all I told them to bring in was limonite, and the metals, like this one, malachite. So that's our copper ore they're bringing down. And there's the cassiterite, that brown ore. And I'm hoping our mason will be along shortly, but if not, I will take the drastic step of making everybody masons momentarily. There he goes. Got a lot of designing to do, buddy. Get on it. Build that furnace. Make my forge. We did bring a unit of coke with us, didn't we? Could have sworn. It may be on the way down, so I gotta give it a sec. If somebody's carrying it, then we won't have access to it. One bar of coke. That's all we brought with us, so that's the bar. I want to say the blue means it's being carried. I hope it's by one of ours. Well, how about that? I don't think I've seen a marriage in a while. Clearly, partying on a glacier is where it's at for the courtship ritual, I guess. Speaking of courtship ritual, what the fuck happened to the wagon? I don't remember disassembling the wagon, did we? Huh. I didn't think I did. Weird. double check, make sure our bedrooms. Oh yeah, they're inside the glacier. That's what I want. I don't want the bedrooms to run the risk of being out into the stone because they're in a different biome. I want that ice. I want that ice. I want that ice. Everybody's fighting over the one bed we have up here. Let's get some beds up for the hospital and make them into a dormitory. Trimmed a couple of these too short, but it just involves the wall. That doesn't affect the hospital, so no big. Okay. You probably don't need anywhere near that for the hospital, but we're good. Just means I have plenty of storage space no matter how much I decide to store here. Farm's going good. Need to get the well up, but that's not super high priority yet. We have water, so, if they need it, they have it. But, perfect. Now, do we have our Coke back now, please? No. Where the fuck did we put our Coke? Ding! Found it. Okay, gotta disassemble that because I made it out of our bar of fuel. That's bad. Not because it actually hurts the workshop anyway. That's perfectly valid to make a workshop out of a bar of fuel. It's just that, well, I need it for the actual cycle here because it's kind of important. It's like our only bar of fuel. As before, coal on repeat once, coal on repeat twice. And then as soon as that cycle kicks off once, we can start the other guy up doing bronze and then come back and get this guy on bronze after that. And it wouldn't hurt to pick up the extra limonite. That's 4 bars of iron laying there if we can do it. Maybe it's 16 bars, I forget. I think the yield's 4 to 1, but I have to look.
Yes, I'll do it, but no, it won't work.
Disassemble these workshops. We no longer require them here. The miscellaneous stuff here is bones and whatnots. Apparently I'm not sure how... Oh, never mind. I know what happened now. The cat has discovered fluffy womblers. And they are all now dead. Spare neuter your cats. Keep them indoors, guys. Unless they're feral cats, and then don't touch them. Butchered the local fluffy wombler population. Holy cow. Yeah. No more of those. And we're working on the second one now. As soon as he's good and engaged, they'll move the bars for us. And now we have smelters up and running. Now they're running off fuel for right now, even though we have magma downstairs, because it's quicker right now to get these few stones done this way than it is to worry about the minor amount of fuel we're going to use up. Now, as soon as these two guys finish, we'll have plenty of bronze to make a few picks with, and I will get the rest of the miners working, or the rest of the haulers working on mining as well. We'll have to plan for a mining guild fairly quickly. Drinks are out. Need to brew what we've got. Brewing means containers. Containers means rock pots. We don't want to use up our precious wood to make barrels here. We don't really want to burn our metal to make barrels here. That means rock pots. Cat adoption. That reminds me, geld that bad boy. Sorry, it took me a minute to find it. There it is. Now this time out, instead of going coins for meltdown and craft purposes, we will go glass. We can make glass mugs and make them in huge abundance, just far, far away more than you would ever produce. We can make figurines and rings and amulets and all those other good things we normally make out of stone and trade them, and they'll actually be of higher value than most stone would be. Um, so that's... If we've got sand like it says we do, then that's going to be awesome. But right now we got to get these stills and crafts dwarfs workshops up. Need them? Need them now. And since he's such a moron, he gets a crude little slab stuck up here in the ice layer. Lost in a glacier 1,000 years from now, no one will ever know where it was. Made an engraver to do that job, actually. Can't remember if it's a stone crafter or an engraver that does that, but now I'm thinking about it, it may be engrave. Yeah, there it goes.
Can't do that there.
As leaves of green turn orange and red, stock up your goods to keep you fed.
Okay, what's our miners all doing now? All right, we're still brewing the stuff out of them, because if we don't, we're dehydrate here. There we go. Much better. Now, they ain't going to have too many more options to brew the rest of this, so somebody's going to get to mining here soon. going to make pigs. Yep, build it out of ice. We got nothing in it. Those dwarves, they owe us this first caravan. Come on, guys, get it up. I want the wagons. Not making anything useful for masonry right now. Getting this up is of higher priority. There we go. Once that's up, the depot, or they'll all dock here, which is perfect for us. Apparently the cats also killed a ferry. Several ferries. A multitude of ferries, whichever. Guess the wagon must have disintegrated. I'm not sure why. I mean, it's there. It says wagon, but where the hell is it? Oh, it's all covered. Okay, that's what's going on. It's right here in the middle. Okay, we can live with that. That's good. And now we're getting on to bedrooms. Now, raw meat meals here that we're making aren't ideal. Dwarves don't get unhappy at eating meat necessarily, but it's not ideal. We want them to be eating the fantastic meals in the fantastic dining room whenever possible. So this will keep them alive, but we need more materials. And what I'm hoping is we'll get them to stop here because the wagons can reach this, rather than realizing we've got a depot down there that they can't reach. And they'll stop here. We can disassemble it all. There's the wagon. There we go. Yummy, yummy supplies. There is much to share. What requests do you have? Well, I want leather and logs. Pretty much exclusively, I think. Yeah, that's about where I'd draw the line on caring about what kind of leather beyond that. It would not hurt if they brought us some silk. Not a huge amount, don't need a lot. And I will take every log you can ever bring us. I will take all the logs, every log. We'll pay triple price for logs. I would pay 10 times price for logs if they would actually bring as many as I could use. But they won't. I want to say per category in here, unless it's been fixed, it's 4. So they could bring up to 4 logs of each type, which sounds like a lot, but there's not really that many types. It's what here? Maybe 15 and then call it 30. So maybe you get 120 logs if they brought them all, but they won't because they'll bring other stuff that interferes. The logs are heavy, so they won't bring as many of those. Now for pets, I think we really want dogs. Mules will go right to meat. Oh, can't do sheep here yet. Soon, but not yet. Pigs for now. And blue peahens and blue peacocks as always. And actually, this is for this time next year. So by this time next year, we want to be able to have... We really, really want to be able to have sheep. So let's plan on having some. And we'll just order them. Wouldn't hurt to have a little clear or crystal glass on hand. And I wouldn't complain if they brought us some charcoal and coke, pearl ash or potash. My guess is that stuff's going. A lot of that stuff's going to get crowded out by. Yeah, that's good. Normally, I'd want metal bars, but right now, no. We're far more concerned about getting set up and stable than we are about getting a proper smelting industry running. Next caravan, yeah, we'll order them. If the humans show up, yeah, sure, we'll order them. If we mine them out, yeah, we'll melt them down and we'll grind something out. But for right now, actually, I take it back. There is something you can do. We want weaponable metals. Iron, bronze, copper. We'll take tin to make more bronze. We'll take steel bars if you have them. We'll take pig iron to make more steel bars. And it wouldn't hurt to take a few nickel bars. Or, excuse me, zinc bars. My bad. Zinc bars. Zinc is a light bar for a metal. Makes a light bin for a metal. If you want your furniture to be light, zinc is a good choice. It's not valuable, but it's light for a metal. We're going to charge you a lot for the stuff you want. Let's talk about what we're going to pay you. Nothing. Bracelets, yeah, okay, I guess. They're not really paying a super huge premium for them, but that's okay. None of the rest of this stuff is stuff I'd worry about. Spears are things we keep, tanned hides are things we use, powder is something we use, quivers are things we produce and keep, cloth is something we produce and use, bracelets I can see being exported. Blocks are not valuable, and even if we wanted to export them, they're heavy and not valuable. Drinks are something we consume. You can export them like prepared food, but they're just not as valuable as prepared food. It's much better to just keep the drinks. Tools includes step ladders and wheelbarrows, and I forget what all is in that category, but none of it's stuff I would worry about exporting. Leather water skins are not valuable, and anvils are okay in terms of their metal value, etc., but they don't have a quality rating. They're not really super good things to export. And to be honest, if I have anvils, I'm making more forges, not selling them. I mean, now ordinarily I'd get a broker together and well, what happened there? Why'd you guys stop? What the fuck was that? Y'all see that? Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, Batman. What the fuck happened there? They just up and fucking left. Huh. Weird. Wonder if it's because I made it out of ice. Merchants are present. Yeah, but there's nothing in it. They didn't like drop their stuff off. Nobody's here. Wow. But burned. Got burned. And they left. Oh, you bastards. Ah. Well, take the depot down, I guess, and we'll do without trading this season. Wow. Not sure what happened there. And once they get this a little more dug out, we can start going on bedrooms. Like soil, ice is fairly quick to dig out. It's uh, good in that sense, but the advantage to ice over soil is that we can smooth it. It can be smoothed, it can be engraved, as far as I remember. At least I think you can still smooth it. Let's see. Oh yeah, and if you can smooth it, you can probably engrave it. So all this ice in all these bedrooms can be engraved for increasing their value and giving everybody pretty engraved ice bedrooms.
More migrants.
All right. And the one time I tell you to bring a carpenter because you might not get one, we end up with one in the third season with almost legendary. Fantastic. Game loves me. Game loves me, I tell you. Loves me. Legendary glassmaker, too. Seriously? I'm just telling you, somebody's going to get eaten in here in a minute. When it happens, I don't want to hear it. But at that point, I'm going straight to capture the guard, and somebody's going to get found out. Only Farmer's Harvest. Only Farmer's Harvest. Sorry, forgot that one. While we're at it, dwarves gather refuse from outside, but do ignore vermin remains. We dump other... let's see. Workshop orders. Auto loom only dyed thread. Actually, you know what? Don't auto loom. I'll just deal with it myself. Use any cloth. No, that's... Use dyed cloth only by default. No, well, I think I have to use that as use any because then I have to specify otherwise. Auto-click webs, kitchen tan. Wowza, we'll get to that in a minute. auto-cutting gems means you can set up certain gems to be automatically cut from rough to cut gem status when they arrive. If you know you're going to have, for example, a large quantity of raw green glass, hint, 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 we can, I believe, set raw green glass up to be automatically cut, and it will automatically be cut in our jeweler's workshops when we produce it. Since we're going to be producing a lot of it at that point, we can have it produced and cut, and it becomes a whole industry unto itself just there. But we'll also use it for mugs, and it's, glass is huge in a fortress that can do it. Okay, where the fuck did you come in at? I mean, like, seriously, how the fuck did he get in? Okay, so if he came in here, yeah, okay, I guess he could have got in through the well. That sucks. I forgot to seal that up. That's bummer. My bad. So let's do that now. I have no idea if a group of dwarves can actually kill a giant olm. We're going to find out the hard way. My guess is they all get themselves butchered and we get to start this fortress over, but we'll see.
Ustos. Ust.
Bruising, 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 bruising. Bruising. Bruising, and then we get a punch in the muscle in the lower body. It looks sick, it vomits, it retches, and at that point, everybody jumps in. And it's curb stomp o'clock, I think, at that point. It missed, and then passed out from exhaustion. And at this point, the fight is over. Passed out from exhaustion means he is trying to dodge all these things, and they are wrestling on him. Regains conscious, passes out. He's never going to get back up at this point. They are just going to bludgeon or do whatever to him. What I think is hilarious about this combat log, though, is that halfway down, I suddenly realize, there's a guinea cock. One of these pet birds that somebody's brought is attacking the giant olm in the head. And has latched on firmly, and so now it is biting and attempting to thrash the giant olm. So here's this little tiny bird, and they are just going to town on him. Would not want to be a giant olm today. He did not make it. And now that they have killed him, someone will go downstairs and pull the lever. How big is a giant olm? I would have thought that would have been bigger than the dwarves and therefore be dangerous. No, it was not the guinea cock, but you were very close, Hesequesa. Right after the guinea cock latched on for the last time, the support farmer jumped in to kill Steel. Would have been all guinea cock, though, I'm telling you. The guinea cock shakes the giant olm around by the head. I'm not kidding, guys. The guinea cock would have got it. Trust me, when it starts doing the shakes around by the head bit, you've got a bad time. Collapsed his head into a lump of gore with a punch. It's over 9,000. So this is true. Fair warning for those of you who might play in adventure mode. Fair warning. Uh, it is always the case that when a target passes out, the AI will go for the head. Every time, every swing, every blow with whatever attack it's making is going for the head. Every time. It's absolutely logical in the sense that if you crush the heads of most things, the fight is immediately over. But what we have here is, of course, like 13 or 14 dwarves or whatever it is, all piled around this thing, all taking turns punching it in the face. It's like the scene from Airplane with the hysterical gal. I mean, right down to the fact that the guy that's third or fourth in line is probably carrying the pick that he was using when he was mining 5 minutes ago. So he's literally just drumming that pick on his hand as he waits for his turn to take a swing. And now those folks who took it to ground, oh well, damn, and a mood to boot.
No, never mind.
And what is this, standing up? I just finished up some work. That was satisfying. This worked out better than I could possibly have wanted. I did not intend on them killing it that way, but go, boys, go. Just temporarily, I need a tanner's workshop. And because a tanner's workshop has a clear path through the middle, this is safe to build in a hallway right here. But I need one so that we can try to butcher and possibly tan the giant ulm. Since we went through all that effort to kill it, it seems a shame to let it go to waste, but if it's going to, I need to cut a garbage chute and get rid of it soon. And now we see the danger inherent in the well system. Because it had to be somebody that swam in. That's the only way it could work. Good news is this demonstrates that we will have more than abundant water to make a hypothetical tree farm down there if we can find the next cavern down. Because we can literally drain this into a giant space from above and get this huge, like, waterfall splash into the middle of a room. It's going to be fantastic for filling it up quickly. And then it'll spread out almost immediately and cover the whole area and be done in almost no time at all. And then shut the water off and it'll just evaporate away and tree farm away. So we're not ready for that, but soon, probably tomorrow. So before I let you guys go, did anybody have any questions for anything I'm planning on doing? How I'm going to set something up? We've done for our giant ulm. I guess we should see if they actually go through with the butchering here. Go, gotta get that up. And I'm not sure if this will work, but we can try it. If they bring the ulm up here and say, no, I won't do that, then we'll just toss it on the surface and move on. Come on, boys. Bring me that ohm. Isn't that how they measure electrical resistance in ohms? Oh, it's a mangled corpse. Well, they won't do anything with a mangled corpse. I'll just let you know right away. So that's a known. We can ignore this then. Let's get rid of him. And we can just dump him in the surface because stuff on the surface doesn't rot to speak of. I mean, it'll rot away, but it won't actually stink up the joint. Apparently, it's plenty of fresh air up there for everybody. So, since it's been mangled, we'll just have to take it, send it up the ladder here. That's no fair, dude. You were already legendary. Dude. Dreams of creating a great work of art. Have you not done that already at your skill level? Are you kidding me? Well, we're about to have a very fulfilled dwarf here, kids. Super fulfilled. Build, workshop. Oops. Build, workshop, and then, oh, excuse me, furnace, and then glass furnace. Wasn't intending to right away, but okay, that'll work. We can do it. And just make it out of marble. That's fine. Someone will be along momentarily to build our little furnace here. There we go. And our guy should be off and running. He shouldn't need anything else from us unless he needs special parts.
I claim this workshop in the name of invention!
But I don't immediately get started because that would be too easy. Pictures of glass, which we don't have. Glass, 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 glass. Man, is that it? Really? Well, we'll build a couple more of these and we'll take the time and effort to create a couple of pieces of raw green glass. And that's all he'll need to get himself started, I believe. Okay. And That shouldn't take them long to get a couple sandbags and fuel together, and then off the races they'll go. Now, we don't want to be doing this here long term, but a few pieces of this on hand isn't a bad idea. Like I said, I wish I knew what happened with the depot there. Yeah, you grabbed 2 pieces. How many you need there, dude? Wow, needs a couple. He's making himself a big gem thing. A big gem thing. There he goes. 3 raw glass, so it's 3 gems worth of stuff, whatever he's making. Alright, so I haven't seen any questions from you guys, so let me see if I can't find somebody out there in streamer land who's playing Dwarf Fortress to pawn you off a pawn. I think it's just a couple of guys following dwarves 24/7, it looks like. Let's try a new one of those if you guys are up for it. But alas, this time of night, that's all we get. Alas.